Hello, everybody. This is Sam Wong from the Admissions Office of Hong Kong Baptist University. I see a lot of familiar names. So happy to see you all. Wow. I am so, I have the urge to PM everybody now. As students, parents, and counselors are rolling in, thank you very much for joining us today for this webinar on visual arts. And for being probably here, which is so difficult these days, even for me, it's really a great challenge. All right, it's really, I see students from different parts of the world. This is amazing. Okay, now I believe there are still students and teachers coming in, but let me just give you some quick introduction and also some housekeeping before we begin. So today the webinar is going to be hosted by our Academy of Visual Arts, and I'm very, very happy to be here today with Dr. Evelyn Kwong, who will be talking about visual arts now plus beyond. So during the webinar, if you have any questions, you're most welcome to type in the chat box or put in the Q&A, and Dr. Kwok will answer them if appropriate, or she might answer that at the end of it. Don't worry about it. We will stay until the end, and there will still be Q&A at the end. And after the end of this session, we will have a quick admissions talk about HABU as usual by me, and also Q&A for the admissions session. Now, without further ado, I will pass the time to Evelyn. Thank you very much, Evelyn.
Thank you, Sam. Really enjoy your very enthusiastic energy. It's what we need, right? Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, cool. Can everybody see my screen? Great. Okay. Well, so yeah, I mean, thank you for coming, and thank you for coming from wherever you are. As Sam just said, it's quite complex these days for everybody to be in the same room, digitally even, at the same time. So thank you. And thank you to any audiences that are watching this, not live, but at another time. So visual arts now and beyond. It's a really big question. And I guess it's something that, many people will probably think about in general, just when it comes to what is art. I remember when I was studying visual arts as a kid. So I'm talking about when I was 6 or 7 in primary school. And the idea of visual arts, it's something that's oh, it's just drawing, right? Can you draw? If you can't draw, then you shouldn't study visual arts. Or, do you want to be an artist? If you don't want to be an artist, then you probably shouldn't study that. And it's all these kind of quite boxed in questions, right? The idea of visual arts being anything, is also something kind of very scary, because people are like, well, then what do you do when you come out of university? Do you get a job as an artist, or how does that work? So these are the many, many questions that throughout my life as a person, but also now as an academic in an art school, I come across them a lot in my life, but also seeing other people ask these questions over and over again. And to be honest, I don't think it's something that you can kind of answer ever, really. It's just kind of an ever evolving and revolving kind of set of ideas. So today in this talk, I'll just quickly introduce what we're doing here and talk about what is visual arts now and beyond. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about that through some of the things our staff are doing, which are really interesting, talking about technology, integrating that with society, and of course, being international as well. And I'm going to show you guys some student highlights, what they've done at AVA, what they can do, and sort of talk about collaboration and community. And of course, we need to have a bit of fun. So I'm just going to quickly check the questions. Are we sharing the recording? I'm sure we are, right? Yeah. Yeah, cool, thanks. So just to talk a little bit about the Academy of Visual Arts in general, I'm sure you guys can find it online on our website, our Instagram account, and you can probably see a lot of bits and pieces everywhere. But in general, we can kind of think that, we're an art school, right? So what is an art school? Again, that's a very big question. Generally speaking, in university, some of you might have a particular idea of what it's like to go to university. You might have really big lectures, you might have, directors of a program, and then you have your teachers, your tutors, your lecturers, your guest lecturers, everything. And it seems sometimes can be like, you're a little person in a really big structure. So what's different to coming to an art school is that your teachers are basically, very connected to you and your direct communication kind of conduit. So, the director is also someone you will see all the time that will also pop into classes and see what you're doing in studio. And it's all quite close knit and connected, which is a really good way to learn. Sorry. So a little bit about us at AVA. We have two campuses. One of them is in Kowloon Tong, and the other one is our own special little beautiful colonial building in Choi Hong. It's called the Kai Tak campus. And these are a couple of photos from the exhibition last year, the graduation exhibition opening party, which you see the fairy lights, and we had a lot of, projections and music and DJs and students having fun with staff as well. And, the other photo is basically during the day when students are kind of just chilling out in our campus in Kai Tak. And this is a really beautiful building. We have our own space. It's historical, but it's also that we're in nature. So sometimes, well, especially during the summer months, the mosquitoes can be a bit full on. However, it's a really beautiful space. And, to be in nature while you're working is something that not many universities can offer, and not many disciplines will offer either. So what is visual arts now and beyond? Again, big question, tough question, and everything kind of question. So this is actually just an image from Art Basel in Hong Kong right now. It's happening. And, it's kind of something that I guess it's an event. It's a big kind of event every year that happens, not just in Hong Kong, but all around the world. And most people would think going to a commercial, huge kind of event with lots of exhibitions happening in many rooms, that's kind of the only way of appreciating visual arts, right? But here I'm trying to tell you that it's not. There are many amazing things that will happen, in smaller spaces as well. So most of you might think visual arts, or many parents or, teachers outside of visual arts might think, okay, visual arts is painting, drawing, you think of your big names like, Picasso or Van Gogh, or, literally right here, like you Google what is visual arts and the images literally comes up like this. And it's interesting that you see here, high school, easy, photography, abstract, creative, line, sculpture, education. And, you're kind of getting an idea that generally speaking, people just think visual arts is something that is quite colorful, a bit rudimentary. It is about creativity, is it not? Right. And it's about many of these things right now you think is, okay, it's drawing or painting, right? But really, visual arts is so much more than that. And yes, it is literally in the words visual and art. So anything that you can see, basically, or visualize in your head, and arts. So it's interesting when people think, oh, maybe art is just, a form, like a thing, a finished product. But in what I've come across in my experience in art school and design school as well, is that it really is a philosophy that you live by. It's a way that you move through the day. It's, art is something that is within all of us. And I know that sounds really cliche, but it's really about being creative, and how you express that creativity then becomes a form. And when we think about art, yes, we might think it's, the form, a piece of something, right? But really, art is so much more about incorporating, big questions and ideas to do with everything you can think about, right? So climate, food, politics, religion, identity, sexuality, social media, technology, science, the list goes on and on and on and on. And when you think about it, it's not even just one topic. It's like, it can be about climate and politics. How do you talk about climate and politics within visual arts? How can you use visual arts as a conduit, as a vessel to carry a message across or to bring questions across to an audience? So really, visual arts it can be the vessel for all of these ideas, and it's just you choose to bring what kind of material into life in these within these kinds of questions and answers. So there are three, I guess, moving forward, there are three really interesting and pertinent, obviously, I guess, themes within our school, within the things that we teach. Technology is obviously, very important. And we also talk about work that integrates into society. So we're talking about, perhaps interesting things to do with maybe science, maybe medicine, maybe, it's about mobility. And also, of course, internationalization is so important as well. So these three ideas aren't necessarily, they're not exclusive. If anything, they're integrated and knitted within our program. So now I'm going to show you within our school three particular sort of highlights of our staff members and what they're doing. And why am I telling you what our staff members are doing? Well, it's because what they do literally directly brings curriculum into the school, but also it allows our students to see what is possible. So, before I start on Anna's amazing project here, I remember when I was first studying design. So I started my studying life. I'm still studying. I'm constantly studying. I'm forever studying. But I remember when I first started studying in university, I guess it's like, people are like, okay, so if you want to study design, then you're going to become a designer. And then it's kind of a straightforward thing. And I just remember thinking, well, I could be anything. And I did not know that I was going to, end up being here in Hong Kong, teaching at an art school. And it's great, because I bring in a different set of thinking and working methods that can be integrated and also collaborate with other artists in our school. So I think it's really important to sort of think outside of the box and beyond the square, and also thinking about how, the people that you work with, like your colleagues, the students and everyone, how that sort of knits into your imagination and how that helps to bring about your creativity. So maybe a little bit more about me later. Anyway, so Anna is one of our new staff members here at AVA, and she just did this amazing thing. I literally just asked her the other day, hey, have you got anything recent that we want to talk about that's kind of cool? And so, didn't even know about this. She did a landing chair for Chinese astronauts. And the bottom image, is actually the chair that's been made, and they tested it in space the other day, or I guess not the other day, but like maybe the other week or month. But essentially, Anna's background is in industrial design. So talking about, ergonomics, and, we're talking about the body, how that fits into objects in a way. Instead of thinking about objects fitting into the body, we're prioritizing the body. So, the design of it is really, thinking about how to enhance objects by understanding the body. So, she did this amazing thing. And you can see that some of the sketches are on the side. You sketch by hand, you might do things on the computer. And I think another thing that as a student, I remember I was very scared of using particular programs. Like I was really bad at anything other than like, I don't know, Photoshop and Illustrator. I mean, I'm still pretty bad at them. But I think it's not so scary when you can see that your teachers also just love to draw. They love to learn. They will, pick up different programs. They can say that, hey, I actually suck at that program, but I'm going to keep trying. So it's really nice to see, Anna's got her sketches there and, work in progress. Anyway, super cool. And Anna leads a couple of subjects that are, really all about designing things like this to sort of, I guess, to think about how you can incorporate design into real life in really practical and interesting ways. So Daniel Shankin, he's another new-ish staff member at our school. And so he's a bit of a hippie. He's pretty cool. He's a cool guy. And he, yeah, like it's kind of hard to describe Daniel, but anyway, he's a cool guy and he's into media arts, and he's done this amazing work where I guess you kind of, I guess maybe about 20, 30 years ago, you start to see artworks that begin to respond to people, right? So we're talking about artworks that are sort of live, as they say. So, what Daniel's sort of done here is sort of taken that to a whole new level. Because what this kind of does is, like, there are these screens on the floor and they're actually having like a dialogue with each other. So it's kind of like this robot that it's a chat bot. And the chatbot is kind of having a conversation, with each other. And it's actually talking about, texts and novels, to do with the end of the world, which just sounds kind of grim, but it's kind of funny because then you start seeing the words of their dialogue being projected onto the wall, and there'll be things like, yeah, you'll be fine. And then things like, no, actually, no, we're not okay. It's, yeah, we're all doomed. And so it's a really interesting work to sort of, I guess, it really reflects the kind of sometimes the doom and gloom. I mean, in the last 3 years of the pandemic, and, lots of unrest around the world. And, doom and gloom is very close to us, unfortunately, everywhere. But it's kind of interesting to inject a little bit of humor into this artwork. And I think, it's when you think about how technology is sort of integrated into our lives, it's nice to see it being reflected back to us in the way of an artwork. So, Daniel's done some really cool things. And of course, Anna and Daniel and anyone else that I, mentioned here, you can Google them, you can find them on our AVA website, and they have their own website as well. So you can have a look at their work as well. So Kaylin's done this really awesome thing, and I'm so envious of. Oh my gosh. So Kaylin is one of our veteran, amazing assistant professors, and he's been at AVA, gosh, I don't know, 10 years at least, probably, I forget. Anyway, and yeah, so recently he's a very hardworking guy also, and recently he's finally taken a sort of a break, right? And it's not really a break, because even though he's traveling around the world and not literally sitting, here with us in Hong Kong, so-called working, he's done this amazing tour, basically. He became a fellow for the Asian Cultural Council of Hong Kong, and he literally got to travel around the world and document and meet all these people. Now, when we think about, studying visual arts, we think, okay, so studying, so do I just practice and draw and sit at home and read books and, all of that? No, yes, that is part of it, absolutely. But you've also got to see the world, right? You've got to go out beyond your comfort zone. You can't just be sitting at home drawing. And yes, I don't mean literally, then go travel the world. I mean, if you can afford it, if your parents can afford it, sure, but I do mean that you need to open your eyes and think about things beyond what you're comfortable with. And so traveling is, when we can, it's a really great way to integrate, creativity and the world into this one amazing amalgamation. So I think Kaylin's journey hasn't been publicized yet, or maybe it has, I'm not sure. It's very recent. He just got back to Hong Kong. So, it's kind of like, a huge trip around the world. Well, not around the world, but mostly in America. And yeah, it would be really amazing if you can go onto the website and find, documentation of his journey. He's met some amazing people. And what that also means is that when Kaylin now comes back to teach, he's got a wealth of knowledge and new experiences to integrate into the teaching, which is excellent. So I can't wait till I can travel again. I haven't traveled for 3 years. So I can't wait to do that. Really, really cool stuff. So moving forward, going to show you guys a little bit about what our students have been doing. And, coming to university is really about building, a sense of community and meeting people. I mean, sure, you're going to be studying and learning new things, of course. But, a lot of it really is about becoming, the person that you maybe want to be one day, right? And you meet the right people or the wrong people and you learn your lessons, that's fine. But you build a sense of community and you collaborate with people and you also have fun. So this is a bunch of amazing works from last year in the graduation show. And I'm showing you all the different disciplines and mediums that we offer here at AVA, and there's obviously more than this as well. So we have, illustration, we have graphic design, we have drawing, we do sculptures, we do glass, we do sound, we do photography, we do, textiles, we do ceramics, everything, glass, metal, anything you can really kind of think of within visual arts, you can kind of imagine it happening here, and it's possible. So I guess a little bit I might go back to the fact that I started off in design, and the idea of interdisciplines, right, meaning cross disciplines, kind of was scary. At the time, people were like, okay, if you're a designer, so what kind of designer? Are you fashion designer? Are you graphic designer? Are you interior designer? Like blah, 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 blah. An artist as well. It's like, are you focusing on glass? Well, if you're a photographer, then maybe you're not an artist. It's like, well, what? Like, why can't I be an artist and be a photographer? Or why can't I be an artist and a designer? So, the idea of interdisciplinary is almost like a little bit scary. But really, what we offer here at AVA is that if you want to choose, if you want to just be a ceramic artist, then go for it. But you're also able to integrate and collaborate with other people and do different kinds of works. So, the fact that we're going to be integrating with the School of Music and Film into this new big umbrella family called the School of Creative Arts coming this year, that also means that you get to not just do visual arts in just in this way, but you also get to then collaborate maybe with film students. Maybe you get to collaborate with, people studying music. I mean, that's so exciting for me as a teaching member, but also as, for students, it's like, wow, you don't have to just focus on one discipline, but you can if you want to, but at least the opportunities are well there. So, one of the things that, obviously community is very important, but also, coming together and having fun. So this is just an example of one of the things I did last year with a subject that I taught, and it's called experience design. And experience design is almost as vague and huge as visual arts now and beyond. It's really about, designing an experience, really. And the students are really awesome in this subject. They basically thought, okay, well, we want to pick, I think we had a few different things to choose from. And I think they chose tea as in, drinking tea. And so the entire subject for the semester was about tea. So, we talked about how do people experience tea, from drinking it, from touching it, from the vessels that holds tea, from the history of tea, the culture of tea, la, la, la. And they basically did this amazing project where it became an event. So first of all, there was an event, obviously the experience. We incorporated music. We had some really talented students who were basically doing shadow puppeting. Anyway, the technical word I forget, but they're doing puppeteering. One of them was playing a traditional Chinese music instrument. They were using their ceramic skills and pottery skills and made these amazing vessels. And it turned into this, really great event. Another thing that they did is to create this publication. So this kind of magazine that they all collaborated. There were 35, nearly 40 students. And everyone contributed a double spread in the publication, and, people split into editorial team and creative team, photography team, and, they got to experience how to bring together the production of a publication. And in the end, there was, a printed publication for the event as well. So it's really fun. And, you kind of got to see where people's talents started to shine through. Some people were very organized, and so they become part of the design team because they're organizing the entire catalog. And there's some people more like just want to do photography and then someone else deal with it. All these kinds of other aspects within the creative process came out, and it was a really worthwhile subject for me to teach as well, and to witness what the students were capable of. And so another thing, of course, to have fun. This is, a couple of photos during Halloween. One of our classes was, basically quite a long day. We had classes. And so the students dressed up and, presented their work while dressed up. And, we had a little bit of a lunch party and, it was very tame. But, it was still really fun. And the students really got into dressing up, and I had to dress up as well. I was a slice of pizza. I didn't really do much. I just put on a friend's costume and it was a slice of pizza. I was going to put that into this slide. Maybe next time I will. It was pretty fun. And, the students, I guess, have never seen me eat. And so they're like, oh my gosh, Evelyn, you eat? I'm like, yes, I do. Okay. Just, random things like that you're like, okay, yeah, okay, thank you. And of course, we have some volunteer students for our exhibition show. So, part of integrating and not into the community of AVA. So not just, first years never see second years or third year students or the fourth year students. They all got to be a part of, this sort of exhibition process. And of course, the bigger photo there is at the grad show last year, where everybody's celebrating the end of the year, I guess, and the excellent work that they've done. So coming to the end of the talk now, and I know I'm kind of talking really quickly. I guess there's a lot that we can talk about, but I'm hoping you guys could, ask questions, and, there's no right or wrong, just, chuck questions out and comments or whatever. But I think, this slide to me is super important, because I guess most people don't really tell you these things. Or I remember when I was studying, no one really told me this. Is like, well, what should you do other than study? Do you just learn how to draw, learn how to make things, and then that's it? No, you really need to be a part of the world. And, wherever you are in the world, go to museums and galleries, and I'm not talking about, I have to be in these big cities in order to go to the big museums. It's like, sure, the big museums are great. We just opened M+ in Hong Kong, and, it's been really great. We have this ginormous museum with one of the, I don't know, best, Asian art collections in the world, sure. However, go to your small galleries, go, to interesting spaces, go see what other people have done, and watch films. Okay. My parents used to say that one of the things that I would be really good at doing as a kid is, if I could be paid to watch TV, I probably would do it for a living. And I mean, I partly blame it on the fact that they stuck me in front of the television a lot when I was a kid. But I love watching films, love watching TV, but you actually get to learn a lot about how things are created and listening to stories from other people in other parts of the world. So it's really important to watch films and TV, but of course, things that are outside of what you're comfortable with, different languages, different genres, sometimes, I think one of the best things I did while I was procrastinating, while I was being lazy, during uni days, is, I'll duck out for a movie in the afternoon and there's like no one in the cinema and I'm just there by myself. And it's one of the best things I've ever done as a habit. And it's just, you get inspired outside of the classroom, outside of, what you normally do. And it's great. Reading books, I think it's something that almost sounds cliche, but really read some books. And I don't mean academic books. I mean, read books that are interesting, that are funny. It's really about understanding stories, hearing stories from other people, other perspectives, and that really expands and opens your world. Play, be creative, push beyond the envelope, literally push, literally play, literally be creative. When I was doing my PhD, and a PhD is, I guess, something that's really, it's like running a marathon and you never know when you're going to end, really. The marathon maybe never end and you might just cry. I think I did a lot of that. But, one of the things that I did during a PhD to keep myself sane was I started to cook. And, coming from a design background, I was really yearning for the instant gratification of producing something, having a problem, producing something and finishing it, right? And a PhD is a much longer process. So I couldn't get that instant gratification in my daily work. So then I had to think about other things. And so I started cooking. I started like hosting dinners. I started testing out recipes. I started making my own recipes. I started doing all these crazy things. And that was me being creative. And, you know, it's creativity really has no bounds, and it should really be a part of your daily, you know, rituals, daily routines. And, you know, if I didn't cook during my PhD, I would not have survived, literally. Literally. And it, you know, all my friends and family benefited from me cooking. So, you know, it was great. And yeah, just literally the other day over the weekend, I was at a tufting workshop, and I'm, you know, like, I'm not a weak person, but I was standing there doing that tufting process, and it was a mat that was only like, you know, 40 centimeters wide. It took me 4 hours, and my arms were dead by the end. But I don't know, like it was an amazing experience. And, you know, it really makes me appreciate the ginormous rug that I have at home, and imagining someone tufting doing this thing. And yeah, it's insane. It's, you know, it really makes you appreciate, you know, how things are made, and materiality, and yeah, things that you don't really think about. So yeah, go out there, study, but also go out there and do fun things, and, you know, have a lot of fun to be creative. So yeah, finally, yeah, thanks for listening. Come see us if you're in Hong Kong. Our graduation show is coming up. Our students are working very hard to finish, to get ready, to present, to set up in the gallery. And it will begin on the 5th to the 19th of June. If you're not in Hong Kong, you can follow us on Instagram, go on our website, and all of that, all of the things. So yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. I've never taken so much notes for one session. So, well, first of all, I think there's a note for you in chat box, which you can enjoy later. But I also want to ask if you have received any private questions from the audience.
No, I haven't. No.
Okay, if not, I have a few questions. So first of all, audience, I will share with you the link to the research projects Evelyn had shared just now. And I believe there will be a link for our past graduates work, and also the one about the upcoming graduation show. I will also share with you. I will also bug Evelyn and ask her for a link on the experience design. I'm very intrigued what is that. So I will include that in our emails to you. Now come the question. I used to be I was one of those pretentious artsy students as well when I was a teenager. Assuming that I'm 17 and I am creative, I like animation. How do I know I want to study visual arts, but not like going straight to animation or art school or design school?
Well, I guess, I mean, for animation, animation is such a grueling task. Like, you know, when we watch movies or, you know, anime or whatever, you know, it just seems like, wow, they've created this entire world, right? And it's hours and hours and hours and years of production, right? People learn to draw by hand first, and then they essentially move from drawing by hand, literally every single detail, to then moving it through the computer programs. And, you know, there's so much work that goes into, you know, an animation. And I guess for a student, like if you were 17, Sam, obnoxious Sam, I'm kidding, you know, wanting to be an animator, yeah, like you would need to learn how to draw. You would need to learn how the human body works, how the animal body works. You would need to learn all these other things that will enhance your knowledge and skills in animation.
Okay, I revised my question. If it's not animation, maybe it's too specific. Maybe I just love drawing or painting, or I love taking photo. Like, how should I know I should not go to any other design school or art school, but a visual art school?
Yes. Okay. So yeah, I mean, we have teachers here that are, you know, renowned artists, and they literally can guide you through the work that you want to do. So, you know, the connection is really strong here. And, you know, the beginning when I talked about this idea of structure, you know, sometimes you go into universities and other disciplines, it's almost like you're a little person in a really big structure, you know, and you only see your teacher 3 hours a week, and you say hello, goodbye, and that's kind of it. They don't really even remember your name, you know, but that's not the case here at ABA. So we literally, you know, have classes that might be, you know, 10 students, maybe 20 students, you know, and you have a studio space. If you're an artist, like, you know, if you're doing your paintings, your drawings, you know, the studio space at AVA in the Kaitak campus, and the teachers are there with you, you know, they're not just disconnected from you and just give you a lecture and off you go. So there's this kind of really intimate learning experience. And I think, you know, with, I mean, I guess, you know, I talk back to design as well. You know, when I remember when I was studying, there was just like sort of a disconnection. I remember looking at my, you know, teachers and what they're telling us and what they actually do, you know. So a lot of them are like, oh, you know, this is how you design something. And I'll be like, okay, sure. But what about you? Like, what are you passionate about? You know, what are you doing? And once you get to see what they're passionate about and how they do things, it's, you know, it makes a lot of sense, because representation matters. You know, if you can see someone else doing it and they've made it, then you're like, oh, great, that's cool, I can do that too. So at AVA, you actually see, you know, one of our colleagues here, Sunny, you know, she's a glass blower, you know, and she is, you know, a renowned glass artist. And literally you see her doing her work, and that gets exhibited, you know, here in Hong Kong or elsewhere internationally. And the students are learning right beside her how to do it themselves. And I think, you know, it's a really unique experience, and it's really important, you know.
I just want to put the link of Sunny like right away, because I don't think anyone would trust their ears when you say she is an art like glass blower. But yes, we have a glass blowing workshop on campus. Can you believe it, guys and girls? Now, it leads to my other question. In fact, let me know if my understanding is correct. I think visual arts is appealing to students because when they enter, they may have only one strength or one target, maybe painting or drawing. But once they get in, they will get to experience all this because of what you said just now, because, you know, so many teachers and artists. When I look at the words you showed just now, I think to myself, does is everybody like that? Were they like this, like genius getting in? They already know how to play with sound and light and glass blowing before they enter the university, or they learn it here, and then maybe in year 2 all of a sudden I know how to do experience design. Is that how it works?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's no such thing as, well, first of all, I want to address that when people have this kind of like genius complex, is like, oh, you know, you've got to be Picasso to be Picasso, you know. Basically it's like, well, Picasso wasn't really Picasso until he's done 300 paintings, you know, and none of them really sold until he died. Okay. But really it's this idea where, like, you know, it's like you can't just walk into somewhere knowing that you're already perfect at something, right? So, you know, a lot of our students get to, you know, explore and test things out. You know, I remember, you know, some of the students that I met, I remember in first year, you know, they're like, oh, but I'm kind of not very good at drawing. It's like, well, just try, you know. And I think what's really fascinating too is that people have a particular standard of what they think good art is. You know, what is a good drawing? What is a good painting, right? So like even in this, you know, share screen here, you know, like this is Aaron Z's work from last year, and I love this painting. It's ginormous. I wanted to buy it, but it's too big. But it's like, you know, there is one particular style, and people might be like, oh, that's a really great painting because it's kind of realistic and la la la. It's like, but you know, some people might not agree, right? And that's okay. But you know, those skills and those ideas about what is good or not, you know, it's such a binary that we need to sort of, I guess, throw that out the window and really explore what it is that you want to convey. What is the message? And the medium, you know, how it looks is going to come as you keep exploring. So students don't need to be coming here and be like, oh, but I'm really not talented, so why am I coming to art school? It's like, well, if you want to come to art school, then you should come to art school.
That's a very cool thing to say. And I think the way you answer it says a lot about our academy. Now, I see Jennifer raising your hand. I just want to quickly remind you that this is recorded. If you don't mind, then we shall grant you the right to speak. But if not, you may simply type your, I guess, you can type your question in the Q&A. Just let us know if you still want to talk. because it's in the all right. Okay, we have a question here. How do you grow on drawing when you are not having the chance to explore other places? Grow on drawing. Did you read that question, Evelyn?
Yeah,
In
do
the
you
Q&A?
mean,
Yeah.
you mean grow on, like, how do you learn how to draw and keep growing on drawing if you're not having chance to explore other places? Is that, I'm guessing that's what you mean. How do you grow on drawing when you're not having the chance to explore other places? By other places, do you mean literally other places?
Yeah, maybe you can elaborate on the question a bit, and we can come back to that. Now, I have another question. Not really a question, but I love when you mentioned Kalen, how he had done his residency program sort of thing just now, in the past year. If my understanding is correct, I think definitely student exchange is available to students, but other than student exchange program, I believe pre-pandemic, AVA students also go abroad for field trips and exhibition abroad. Could you please share a bit with us about that?
Yeah. I'm just gonna drop this thing here. It's called Shared Campus. It's basically a really huge project that connects us, AVA at BU, to many universities in the world. So we're talking about University of the Arts London, we're talking about Zurich University of the Arts, we're talking about Kyoto Seika, we're talking about Tokyo University of the Arts, basically some really huge names that you can even imagine when you think about top art schools and design schools in the world. So we have this project that I've been working on as part of, I guess, internationalization, which is exciting if we get to travel. And I think I will be able to travel this year, actually in August, to London to do part of this shared campus thing. But essentially Shared Campus, it's a project that connects all these universities together, and we do really interesting things like summer schools. So in August, I'll be taking a summer school in London with colleagues at University of the Arts London, and also colleagues from Kyoto are joining. And basically we have AVA students coming, we have other students from everywhere, all the universities that I've mentioned before, and they get to be in this program with us for 3 weeks. So something like that is, I guess it's pre-pandemic, obviously it happened a lot, happened all the time. But, now that, during pandemic, it's been a lot of online stuff, which, has been driving a lot of people insane. However, now I think we're going to be, opening up a bit more, and the rest of the world is also opened up. So yeah, it's going to happen. And so there are these opportunities like Shared Campus, like similar to your thinking of like, field trips where you can go overseas for a short period of time, and students do get supported for that, and they do get credited for that. So, it doesn't have to be like a 6-month exchange, it's actually a 3 weeks, short and sweet, learning experience, meeting new people, seeing the world.
That's great. That's really wonderful to know. Now, my very last question is about the graduation show. Graduate shows, again, it's really not a question, but I want you to be very frank about how important it is. Because my feeling as just a citizen, even the graduation show is something to the city. Like every year when it comes out, we know, this is the new batch of artists, just like, graduates from other, design school. But AVA is special because we are the only like academy of visual arts. Like we are the one with visual arts, and the students specialty is so different here. Like they do very different things. Do they get, I mean, it sounds, I don't know, sounds like a parent, but do they get jobs? Like, do people go to the show and find them so super talented and then hire them or buy their works, or how does it work? Or I believe they will get to be seen at least. So how does it work with the graduate show?
Yeah, so okay, so first of all, the graduation exhibition, the work set, for example, on this page that you see here, the students basically worked on that for about a year, I guess you can call it, within their final year in honors projects. So the first half of the year is kind of, you know, testing, experimenting, they're kind of learning about how to be a professional person, so to speak. That's also a subject that I've taught before. It's called professional practice, which basically it's about getting them ready for the world, like, you know, I guess designing your portfolio, understanding how to interview, you know, these are the things that prospective students that want to come to the academy will also have to do, have a portfolio and interview. We can talk about that another time. But basically, you know, the first half of the year, the students kind of prepare themselves and think about what they want to do. And then in the second semester, they really go full gung-ho to making a project, you know, that they want to exhibit, right? And so a lot of students, like right now I'm supervising some honor students, and, you know, they're like, wow, holy crap, this is the like biggest thing I'm ever going to do in my life. And I'm like, well, sure, it is for now the biggest thing you ever do in your life. However, you know, it's to really reflect on, you know, the time that you've had at AVA and really, you know, show maybe the best part of you for now, if you can, in an artwork, if you want to. And so the students kind of go through that and they're like, well, do I want to be a painter? Do I want to be labeled as a glass artist or whatever? You know, some of them are okay with putting themselves in that, but some of them are just like, well, I'm just going to explore whatever project I want to do. I'll just do it, whatever medium. And so in the end, they have this body of work, I guess, as we call it. Sometimes it's, you know, a huge body of work. Sometimes it's maybe only a couple of paintings, but, you know, the quantity doesn't really matter. It's really about the quality. And so then that gets presented to us staff internally first, and then it gets set up like this, you know, exhibited all over the KaiTak campus, turns into a whole gallery basically. And yeah, every year, well, pre-pandemic, yes, during pandemic we couldn't do it live, but essentially we invite people all around Hong Kong, sometimes around the world if, you know, they're around, if travel is okay. Yeah, they come here, and, you know, we're not talking about friends and family just, you know, we're talking about people that run galleries in Hong Kong, you know, who are looking for artists, who are looking for new talent. And, you know, they also sponsor awards, and a lot of them do get awards. And some of the awards also mean that you get to show in that gallery as well, you know, whether it's a group show, or maybe, you know, maybe some galleries want to buy one of the works to show there, that kind of thing. So these things do happen, and a lot of the time students kind of see that as a networking event as well. So they will dress up really nicely, and, you know, sometimes they make name cards. And, you know, so one of these, actually, I don't know, maybe Julie and Kwan, if you know, but I think in this photo, I remember, so Aaron C, again, this is the yellow sort of painting here with the two people looking up. You know, he was exhibited, both of his paintings, or one of them at least, this one, I think, was exhibited in one of the central galleries. Oh gosh, the name escapes me. But one of the galleries in Central, I can kind of see the street name. Anyway, but essentially it happened like, you know, 2 months after the exhibition, the grad show, for example. So you have people that want to push young talent out into the open beyond just university grounds. And, you know, there's just, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for people to come and see the work, and then it gets shown, or, you know, sometimes sold. Yeah. And
yeah, I guess it is exactly what I want to talk about. I want to mention to the audience, because I also happen to have the luck to meet a young friend who is an alumni of ABA, and as you mentioned, there are awards, and the awards are important. They are not just nothing, not just a paper, like a freak of popularity. I think he had his book published the year he graduated, and the book, it was sold in the bookstore. Like, it's actual, like, and I read it, I buy it for people as a gift. So if any Harris are here, or any students are worrying about not getting a job, well, you don't really have to get a job if you're an artist, you know. And then there is still a way to make a living. I think we have two very interesting questions here. I would suggest if Lynn could answer first about the unpopular area, and then I would also like to invite you to talk about a little bit about the portfolio, because so follow up on this session, I will talk about admissions. And yes, we have full scholarship, but if you are specifically interested in visual arts, I would like to take this opportunity to ask Evelyn if she has any tips for us, for students who are interested to build a good competitive portfolio that might help you to get a full scholarship. But before that, because I assume that would be a long answer, so I thought maybe you can first mention some of the unpopular areas first in the academy.
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Heather. Yeah, I mean, we have, I guess by unpopular, you mean like niche, right? So yeah, we have glass blowing, we have sculpture, we have ceramic, we have metalwork, we have woodwork, we have sound, we have digital media of all sorts. What else? What else do we?
Jewelry.
Jewelry,
I think
yes.
it's really cool when they make jewelry and use jewelry to send a message, not just like a diamond ring, or not just a ring on someone's finger. And that was really that was quite education for me. Yeah.
Yeah, jewelry is really, it's such a great thing to think about too, because yeah, like you said, everybody just thinks jewelry is like one pretty dainty thing or something. But you know, when you think about jewelry as a wearable art, you know, something you put on your body, it doesn't have to be in a conventional way. Yeah, those are kind of the mediums that we have. Julie or Quan, am I missing anything else?
Printmaking, I guess.
Yeah, printmaking, yes, of course, sorry, right in front of us. Yeah, the really lovely comic there. That's done on a risograph. So risograph it's one of those things. It's like, it reminds me of last weekend when I did that tufting workshop. It's like, oh, it's like hours and hours of layering different colors one at a time. And yeah, the risograph is a really cool machine, and it has these amazing colors and different sort of, I guess, colors that you don't see out of a conventional printer. And yeah, risograph's really amazing. So yeah, printmaking is one of them. What else? Anything else?
I think that is already quite a long list of
Yeah.
niche areas. So yeah. How about the next question? Now, for AVA applicants, how can they stand out and get a full scholarship?
Well, okay, so it's funny that because you know, Julie knows that I need to mark my portfolios by tomorrow. I will do them, don't worry. Yeah, so every year, basically almost all the staff at AVA here, we mark the portfolios, we do the portfolio interviews and all of that. And I mean, sometimes I'm astounded at how students don't realize, or prospective students, I guess, they don't realize that we're just people. Like the markers, the interviewers, we're just people. Like, tell us what is the most interesting thing to you. You know, if you're putting things together that you're like, not kind of like, you're like, oh, I don't know if I really, you know, can draw, but here's a drawing from, you know, this project from school, I'll just put it in. You know, it's like, no, well, if your school projects haven't been interesting or really rewarding for you, then do something just out of your own initiative. You know, if you have a dog, then draw a dog, you know, and maybe if you might think that work is actually much better than something that you did at school, for example, under a school curriculum, you know. So that's one thing. It's, you know, show us work that you like, show us work that you've had fun doing. And think about how to communicate that in the clearest way. Because when you communicate to strangers, like, you know, when you speak to, you know, whether it's me or the other staff members, you know, we want to get to know you in that very brief period of time, right? Where we're talking about like a 10-15 minute interview. You talk about yourself, you talk about your work, you know, you kind of show why you want to be, right, at AVA. Why do you want to study art and see what happens, right? So, you know, be a person, you know, just relax and don't see it as like the end, you know, if things don't work out or something. But really, if you don't have fun doing your portfolio, if you're not liking the work that you've put in there, then we can see that, you know, and we're just people, you know, so come across as friendly, as cheerful, as relaxed as you are, then we're going to be cheerful and relaxed with you while looking at your work. So in your portfolio, you should be clear in your communication. So we don't need to see a lot of text or whatever. We just need to see these, the beautiful works that are clear, good resolution images. Don't take it with your phone. Like sometimes students come up to an interview, they're like, oh, I can't share screen, but I'll show it to you on my phone. They do this and you're like, oh yeah. Like, you're like, I really want to pay attention to you, but you waving a phone in my face is it's just not cool, like I can't take you seriously. So there are things like that, technical things that be prepared for, that it's going to work on the day of the interview. But in terms of the portfolio, put things in there that you love, be clear about your communication. You don't have to tell us your life story. Just remember, we're looking at many of them at a time. So, if you can be short, succinct, but also very clear in your communication, then we're going to feel it. We're going to see it. So, yeah, I think those are kind of the things to be aware of. And just one other thing I would say in terms of the interview process, being prepared and all of that is good. But I think a lot of people, like during the interviews, I guess also, because of course you're nervous and that's totally understandable. But it's better to sort of be more honest, and say, hey, maybe when I was a kid, I saw this animation and it was really cool and it really inspired me, to want to try to learn to draw, to try to do certain things. And I don't know if I'm going to be really good at it, but hey, so really just be yourself when you're in an interview, get over the nerves, shake it out, but be yourself in an interview. And honestly, the number of interviews I have been through and all the other staff have been through, the ones that always impress us are the ones that are really just being themselves. They're being positive and they're being open. And yeah.
Thank you very much, Evelyn. As an adult, I understand every what you said, but I can also imagine there are students staring in the space like, how can I show you just the thing I like? That is just not good enough. Now, students, trust me. I mean, I will send you the recording later, but listen to it again. I mean, this is the professor who looked at your portfolio, and if she says so, then just be true to yourself, and that can't do any harm. And I would say same goes to your statement, your personal statement. Don't make up a story. You write a story if you have a story to tell. Don't just, there's no point of making something up. But thank you so much, Evelyn, for all those honest answer. And I think we also already received positive review, like in the chat box. Like, so thank you very much. I don't see any last question for now, but everyone who is here or who have registered, I will send you a follow-up email and with all the links. I will try to gather all the things that she mentioned just now and put it in the email. And you are most welcome to contact us. This is a small university, but it's like a big family. So just write to us. We will try to find answers for you. We will pass you on to the right person. So thank you again, Evelyn. And for those of you in the audience, I will give an admissions talk shortly after this. All right. Thank you very much.
Just say thank you, Sam. You are one of the most enthusiastic people I have ever had the privilege of hosting a talk with.
That is too kind. Too kind. Let's do it again. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.